Good afternoon, everyone. It's about 3:05 Eastern Standard Time, and that means it's time for the Full Count Major League Baseball show powered by SportsMemo TV and the Predictive Playbook cast of shows. And I am pleased to have my longtime buddy and friend, professional sports handicapper, Rocky Atkinson, in the house with me. He and I started in a year that we're not going to disclose on the show since it's live, but it was pretty long ago. We started the same year in the same sites, and wow, life goes full circle, and here we are again at Sports Memo, kicking butt. How's it going, Rocky?
Hey, going good, John. Glad to be back here with you again doing another show.
Awesome. So we're going to go down 3 games as usual on this show, and we're going to start with the Philadelphia Phillies. And I'm going to make a bold statement here right off the top. I bet the Phillies to win the National League East division title, not second, not third, first, at 15-1. I did see it at 18-1 at a different place after I'd already placed it. So it was a lesson to do your shopping and make sure you get the best line. But the reason I did this, Rocky, is my predictive models, and they also do longer terms. So there's a Wall Street term called arbitrage, where you simultaneously buy and sell similar securities. Well, baseball teams are similar, right? They both do the same thing. And what the model is telling me is that the Mets are one of the most overrated teams in Major League Baseball. In fact, they are the most overrated, according to my models, which are not always right. But in this situation, I do like it. And it also applies to the Braves. The Braves are the reigning world champs. The Phillies on paper, it's mind-blowing that they are where they are, but they are on a 4-game winning streak. I don't think that's because they fired Joe Girardi and he was a toxic cancer in the locker room. For whatever reason, it took the stress out of the locker room of the rumors that he was going to get fired, and the players are relaxing. But I do think, based on the models, that if this team gets it together on paper, on the field, like they are on paper, they're going to be chasing down the Mets come the end of July. So it's a situation where I'm going to be fading the Mets and betting on the Phillies, betting on the Braves here for probably the next couple of weeks. So before you break down the game, Rocky, do you think I need therapy now after I said that?
I tell you what, like you said, that was a bold move you made. But they do have a good team. The Mets are playing probably better than we thought they would, but they do have a good team as well, I think. And so I'm not sure. It's something I'm not going to do, but I hope you will, just because me and you buddies, But yeah, you want me to jump on into breaking it down?
Yeah. I want to hear what you have to say about this game, because this is a pretty big, this is a pretty big matchup here for a 3-game series of National League, potential powerhouse that could meet in the playoffs, maybe, if I'm right.
That's true. You got Philadelphia coming in 25-29 on the year. Milwaukee's 33-23 straight up on the season. And when I read this line, it's telling me to take the Phillies here. I feel like Vegas is wanting the public to take Milwaukee in this one. Ranger Suarez is 3-1 with a 4.03 ERA on the road this year. He has a 1.93 ERA in his one career start versus the Brewers. So he's done well there. Jason Alexander gets called for Milwaukee. He's going to be making his second start of the season after a decent first start, but something that stood out to me in that first start, he did allow 3 walks compared to 3 strikeouts. And usually, your better pitchers are going to have more strikeouts than walks, of course. Like you said earlier, the Phillies have won 4 in a row coming into this one. Milwaukee's lost 3 in a row. So they're headed in the opposite directions here. Philadelphia scoring 6.3 runs per game the past 7 games overall. Milwaukee has a team batting average of only 186 the past 7 games overall. And they have struggled against left-handed starters this year, scoring only 3.11 runs per game. Team batting average of only 205 against lefties this season. Also, you got Milwaukee's 0-5 the last 5 games as a favorite, and they're 0-4 the last 4 games as a home favorite. So I'm going to recommend a small play on the Phillies in this one.
I like it quite a bit, Rock. Later in the show, I'm going to present a betting angle of the day that does support the Phillies on the money line. And I have to agree with you. When you take a look at Suarez, he's a left-handed batter, and Milwaukee has struggled against left-handers over the last 2 seasons. But Suarez is not scary. He's not going to be, even remotely close to a Randy Johnson, for example. And the line is basically pick 'em. And that's what really stuck out to me initially when I looked at it earlier this morning. Good stuff. Let's see what we got next here with the lineup. And here's another interesting matchup. The juggernaut Dodgers, who can lose to the Pirates and the Phillies in inexplicable ways, yet they're still the best team in baseball, in my opinion. Them and the Yankees are head and shoulders better than everybody else. I give the edge to the Dodgers of just a smidge over the Yankees right now. Mitch White is going to be pitching for the Dodgers tonight, going up against the Chicago White Sox, who are third in the AL Central. And what the heck is going on with them? 2 games under 500. This team was supposed to run away with it and have it clinched by now, if you read all the preseason reports. Rocky, tell me what's going on with the White Sox and if they're worth backing tonight against these juggernaut Dodgers.
Definitely, John. This White Sox team's definitely underachieved so far this year, in my opinion. And the Dodgers, like you say, probably the best team in baseball. Dodgers 35-19 on the year. White Sox 25-27. I do know the White Sox are better than this record. And like you said, Mitch White gets to start here for the Dodgers. He's 0-1 with a 4.77 ERA in his 3 starts this year. Michael Kopech will toe the rubber for the White Sox. Where he's pitched well this season, but like a lot of pitchers this season, he's lacked run support. He's 1-2 with a 2.20 ERA overall this year and 0-1 with a 2.05 ERA at home this season. So the White Sox need to get those bats to come alive. The Dodgers is only 2-5 the last 7 games overall. So they've struggled here recently, which is something we don't see often out of that team. The White Sox 3-1 in interleague play this year. They're allowing only 3.1 runs per game, holding opponents to a 193 team batting average. They're 6-1 the last 7 interleague home games against right-handed starters. They're 6-1 the last 7 interleague home games overall. They're 13-3 their last 16 interleague games, and they're 13-3 the last 16 interleague games when facing a right-handed starter. So the public right now is all over the Dodgers in this one, as usual, when they should be. I mean, Dodgers are a great team, but I'm going to recommend the other side of that, and I'm going to take the White Sox here tonight.
And I agree with you. I do agree with you. And I did a little query with the database. There's 2 teams in Major League Baseball that have outscored their opponents by 100 or more runs so far this season in total. That is the Dodgers and the Yankees, just a shade over 100, but nevertheless, it's over 100. And teams that have outscored their opponents by this much playing in the month of June are to be avoided, absolutely avoided. They are not good bets. And it'll be interesting to see. Maybe we should track this to see fading the Yankees and fading the Dodgers, which, again, makes as much sense as some idiot going out and buying a futures ticket on the Phillies at plus 1,500 to win the division. Somebody like that should get a blood test, I think, before he does any further damage to his financial situation. But seriously, it goes pretty awful, and that applies to the Yankees tonight, who are taking on a pretty good team called Minnesota. And the record for the Yankees in this situation, I know it's not one of our games, but their teams in this role on the road are 9-15, losing 7 units on the money line. We're not even talking the run line. Straight up, if taking on a host that has won 55% or more of their games on the season. And I wish the White Sox were a winning record team because it would make it even stronger to play them. But all the angles with the Dodgers having outscored their opponents by over 100 runs, and in the month of June, it's a fade for me with the Dodgers, even though I'm wearing the hat. Let's move on to the third and final game, Rocky, and that is the let's see, what game is that now? That is the New York Mets. Yeah, how could I forget? That team up north here in the Northeast, taking on the San Diego Padres. The Padres are doing much better than I thought, Rocky, this season. And when Fernando Tatis comes back, you would have to think that they are a possible team that could hunt down the Dodgers here in the late part of the season. The Dodgers had to deal with San Francisco Giants last year down the stretch, and they ended up being the wild card. having won well over 100 games, and the same situation might just unfold again in front of them. But in this matchup, like I said earlier in the show, I think the Mets, you look at their opponent rating, and it's not so good. And it's not their fault they play in the National League East. But that opponent schedule actually could get better if I'm right about the Braves and the Phillies starting to get their acts together and win more games than they lose. That would help at least the power ratings for the opponents that the Mets have faced. But I think this is a pretty tough matchup for the Mets to actually win tonight against the Padres. I'm wondering if you agree with me.
I do, John, actually. The Mets, they come in 38-19. They've had a great season so far. San Diego's 33-22 on the season. So the records are not that far apart. Yu Darvish gets the call for San Diego. He's 2-1 with a 1.71 ERA at home this year. He has 25 strikeouts compared to only 5 walks at home this season. Very good numbers there. And he has a 2.95 ERA his last 3 starts. San Diego's 7-1 the last 8 games after their opponent allowed 5 runs or more in the previous game. San Diego's 5-1 the last 6 games after scoring 5 runs or more in their previous game. San Diego's 14-3 the last 17 games after allowing 5 runs or more in their previous game. San Diego's 13-3 the last 16 games when their opponent scored 5 runs or more in their previous game. So we had a lot of scoring last night. And San Diego's 13-4 the last 17 games after a loss. So this San Diego team is not bad. Like you said, whenever they get what's his name back, they're going to be even better. Tatis, yeah. They're going to be even better, and they could give the Dodgers a fit here down the stretch. But I'm going to recommend a small play on San Diego in this one tonight.
Yeah, I like that too, Rocky. Do you think the pitching matchup with, I believe Yu Darvish is on the hill for the Padres, and he is pitching probably some of the best ball of his career, in my opinion. Walker, again, you look at the especially the StatCast stuff, and I just shake my head and go like, this is like borderline smoke and mirrors. And I don't mean any ill will towards him, but his exit velocity is 91, hard hit percentage 45%. His expected weighted on base average is 347, and I could go on and on. K percentage is only 12.5. For Yu Darvish, 20% K percentage. He only walks 6% of the batters. Hard hit percentage is 38 for Darvish versus 45% for Walker. It just seems like a matchup that the Padres are just going to smash Walker all over the field. And Darvish is going to do his quality start, 6 innings, maybe more, 3 earned runs allowed or less. And this will be a cakewalk. Do you see any problem in that strategy? And do you think Darvish, who has been largely inconsistent in past seasons, is finally starting to settle down as a veteran?
Yeah, I think Darvish is definitely coming around. And Walker has pitched good this year too. I mean, he really has for the Mets. But if I'm going to pick one, Darvish or Walker, I'm going to take Darvish and these Padres at home here tonight.
Yeah, I just might add, Darvish's spin rates are the best of his career, and they're also the best in baseball right now. His cutter, believe it or not, is 2,700 RPMs, which means it's very, very tight. And even the most trained baseball hitting eyes have trouble, if not impossible, to identify the pitch. So when he throws that, which is basically a fastball that has a little bit of a tail, keep an eye on that pitch and watch what the hitters do, because they're going to probably miss it and swing through it, and at times going to look a little foolish. So I like Darvish quite a bit tonight. So now we'll move on to the final segment of the show, and it's always the favorite part of our show, even when we do the college football show together, Rocky, this past year. And the NFL, where you were number 1 at SportsMemo, and the NFL is just right around the corner. So they'll have packages for us, for people to buy and get yours for sure, since you were number 1 last year. But with the best bets segment here, I'll turn it over. I'll go first. Okay. And I even have a slide here for the Phillies. And I am going to track it, and we'll just mention it on some of the video clips I do each day. How this is doing, where we're arbitraging, buying the Phillies, selling the Mets. So I will be playing the Phillies for 1 unit each day they play, selling the Mets, and see if that large double-digit lead in the National League East doesn't come back down to about 5 or 6 over the next couple of weeks. And if it does, then we've done well in terms of profitability. But for tonight, this is the betting angle of the day and it supports the Phillies. You're going to bet on any National League team that has a starting pitcher like Suarez has a whip. That's walks and hits per innings pitched. If you didn't know that, 1.50 to 1.60. So that's mediocre at best. You want it down near 1 or even under 1. Like Garrett Cole's, I think, is like 0.8. So Verlander, like 0.7 something. It's just ridiculous. So he is basically an average starting pitcher. As you can see by the chart there, that record is 46-26 for 65% winners. Best of all, guys and gals, it averages a dog. And this is what you want to do in baseball and hockey. They're money line sports. It doesn't matter what somebody's win percentage is. You see somebody on Twitter saying they're hitting 80% in baseball. I guarantee you it's probably by betting foolishly on minus 200 or minus 250 favorites. And just a couple of weeks ago, we saw Pittsburgh go into Los Angeles and beat the Dodgers as minus 350 favorites, minus 350 favorites, minus 250 favorites to sweep them. So that's where you get killed by doing these big-time favorites, both in hockey and baseball. So don't do it. Bet on games like this where you can grind it out over the course of a season. Bet the 125 underdog or whatever they are. Tonight, the Phillies are minus 105. That's essentially pick 'em. And as a bonus, this is a 4% premium play to my clients. I'm recommending adding a 1% amount to make it a 5%er in total on the minus 1.5 run line. Now, you might have to search for the alternative lines on the book that you use, but if it's available, it's going to be up there around plus 175, plus 185. And on one unit, you do that over the course of the year, it adds so much to your bottom line and return on investment. Remember, I'm a Wall Street guy. It's all about return on investment. Win percentage means nothing in baseball. Nothing. But my pick is on the Phillies. Let's move over to Rocky here and see what he's got for his best bet tonight. And it's going to be a good one, I can tell you that.
Yeah, John, I'm looking at the Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros game. Seattle comes in 24-30 on the year. Houston's 35-19 this season. Chris Flexen's 2-6 with a 4.55 ERA overall this year. He's 0-4 with a 5.04 ERA on the road this season, and he has a 5.06 ERA his last 3 starts. He's 1-5 with a 5.26 ERA in 7 career starts here versus Houston. Justin Verlander gets the call for Houston here tonight. 6-2, 2.23 ERA overall this year. 2-0 with a 2.41 ERA at home this season. He's 18-10 with a 3.26 ERA in his 34 career starts versus Seattle. Houston's 14-6 at home this year, allowing only 2.7 runs per game. Houston 6-1 their last 7 games overall, allowing only 2.9 runs per game. Houston 16-4 at home versus Seattle the past 3 years. I'm not going to play that money line, just like you were talking about. This money line is over minus 200, and I don't do that anymore. My cutoff's minus 150. So I'm gonna recommend playing Houston on the run line here, as they should be able to get the job done. It's minus 1.5, minus 115. They should win by 2 or more easily.
I agree. And a little shout out to Chaz McCormick. I never had the privilege of actually getting to know him, but the family's one of those tremendous families that you meet them for 5 minutes. And Rocky, you're in baseball families, some families you just kind of want to avoid when you see them, because all they're going to do is talk about their kids. And then there's families like the McCormicks who were just cheering for everybody and wanted everybody to do well. And Chaz's twin brother played center field for the same college team that my son played for. And it was just memories that I will never forget, and I'm sure they won't either. And I noticed on the betting lines, has nothing to do with predictive power or models or anything else, but the line for Chaz to hit a home run tonight is plus 333 at BetMGM. Now, the trip threes that's the Trinity, right? I mean, that has to be good luck. So we'll put that as a pizza money bet for sure, just because it's plus 333. Hopefully he'll hit one tonight, or maybe even 2. But I think the play in question here, and the most important part, is Rocky's take on the -1.5 run line. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Houston won this by 5 or 6 runs. It just seems to be a complete mismatch in this single game tonight. So unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the show, and it's always sad for me to sign off, especially when you're my co-host, Rocky. So thanks for your time as always.
One more
Make
thing,
sure,
John.
guys and gals, you get over to sportsmemo.com. Take advantage of the $2 Tuesday. I'm not sure who those guys or gals are. Dion could be, I think she was last week, so it's probably 3 gentlemen over at Sports Memo. You can get their best bets for
Ross
$5.
Benjamin, Joe D'Amico, and the Gold Sheet at Sports Memo.
There you go.
It's Tony Mejia at Wager Talk.
There you go. Yeah, and I think Tony's joining me on the Manny's Pub show that we're throwing together here shortly at the last minute, because I never know who's available to come on from those guys because they're so darn busy. It's all good.
Yeah.
But that's good stuff. Yeah, so $5, guys. You can get all 3 of those guys. And the guys that Rocky mentioned as a shout out there, they all know what they're doing. You know Joe D'Amico, you know Ross Benjamin from their shows, and everybody that is there on SportsMemo is there for a reason, because they're damn good. So take advantage of it. $5. It's less than half a pint of beer, for God's sake. I don't know what else to say about it to get people to do that. Anyway, that'll take care of the show today for the Full Count Show. Rocky, have a great rest of your night. Good luck to everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow on the Full Count Show. And until then, remember 2 things. Bet with your head, never over it, and may all the wins be yours.